Hey guys, this is Pedro back with another interview covering the Valorant scene, not just focusing on post-match interviews with players, coaches, or anything else of like, but more so talking to people that are behind the camera or more so in front of the camera. Obviously, broadcast people, casters, hosts, interviewers, announcers, whatever it is that catches my attention, I'll be sure to talk to them. And for this occasion, I have with me here a host, an interviewer, an announcer, basically whatever it is that I kind of try to describe her, she's done it all. And so, as for who this person is, she is Bella. For those of you who are still remembering the recent events in the VCT season, she was most known for doing plenty of interviews, post-match interviews, for a variety of Korean players in VALORANT Champions in Seoul, which happened a few months ago. And so, because of that, I kind of reached out to her in order to just kind of cover her career and cover her story and just everything around that juncture. And so, Bella, thank you so much for taking the time doing this, and really do appreciate it. As I said before the start of the recording, I just want to ask you, just first and foremost, what's the feeling like? The Valorant season is over. We're kind of heading into the off season, but for you, what's the headspace like for you right now?
Honestly, first and foremost, I want to say thank you for asking for the interview. I'm super excited to be here. I joined VCT Stage 2 like mid-season, so the past couple of months it's been such a whirlwind. I was so caught up in all the new information and the new workspace. So right now it feels like I'm just catching a breather. It feels nice to actually see other events and, games from a viewer's perspective now instead of being on the scene.
What kind of events have you been kind of watching, out of curiosity?
Uh Challengers, because of all the Pacific talents that I got to know this year. I've been following them on their feed, their Twitter and YouTube. I've been catching some live matches here and there. So I'm basically prepping for next year's VCT in a way, because by watching that and doing recaps on how I performed this year, hoping to bring better work into next season.
Then I can assume that you've obviously been looking at like events like Ascension Pacific, right? Because like at the end of that tournament, it was a Korean team that came out on top, SPG. And so, what was that feeling like for you to just watch, a Korean team win the event and add another Korean team to the top flight of Pacific?
So there's this inside joke that if I start cheering for a team that they don't really make it. So I watched like 10 minutes in between just to keep up with the record, and I tried my best to not root for Sinprisa, but then I
Okay, okay.
had to watch the final part because it was getting too intense. I could not stop watching. So um when a Korean team made it to the final, like they claimed the champions title, I don't know, it felt like I knew them personally just because I'm sure that they put in like all the work, and because Korea is such a we have a very passionate VCT community, the pressure must have been really real for them. So yeah, I was more than happy for them.
No, for sure. I mean, definitely, it was a sight to see the Pacific Ascension wrap up with a Korean team on top. I mean, because of the fact that it was in Pacific and it being like during the off season, I kind of didn't really watch much games. I just kind of watched the highlights, as it went along. But yeah, like very interesting to hear your perspective as as a Korean fan. And so, since you said that you kind of made it a point to not watch SPG play, did you kind of try to pull like a jinx onto any other team that you like wanted to focus on?
No, I try to stay as neutral just because I kind of think that I do have a jinx. It's been every time. So like during stage 2, every time I would root for DRX, their match didn't really work out. So I've been trying to stay neutral and just cheer in the right moment. I mean, when the finals match against Boom, that was just crazy. So honestly, at that point, even with my Korean bias, I wouldn't have been surprised if either one took the trophy and claimed the title. But, as of now, I'm glad that both teams are joining Pacific, and we know for sure that next year is just going to be a banger.
Oh, for sure, it's definitely a banger. Definitely gonna bring the boom from those teams. That was obviously a pun, so that's the kind of interview you're going to receive from me. So yeah, now kind of backtracking before Ascension. Obviously, I gotta get into just BCT Pacific because like looking into your career, you're still like relatively new, I would say, right? In the esports industry, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it was only until like literally the end of the year, like as in start of stage two Pacific, that you dipped your toes into Valorant. And
Mm-hmm.
obviously it might have been a massive change for you to kind of undergo, from your point of view. So that said, I kind of want to ask you first and foremost about how did you kind of view your experience in Pacific, um, in the role that you were in.
So, so VCT Pacific, they reached out to me like about 10 days before the season started. So 10 days before stage two started. So I didn't really have a lot of time on my end to, prep because originally before joining the VCT team, my main used to be PUBG. I started out my esports host as a PUBG host. And through the 10 days in working stage two, I got a lot of help from our Pacific talents just because they, even with the amount of background information that I was trying to study and all the recaps that I was watching, I had the best talents right next to me that I could go straight for questions. So, whenever I had a question about like this team and his like this player's career, let's say, I would ask them and they would actually provide me with like the whole history, and then so they were always able to give me like the plus alpha regarding information on like players' tendencies, their personalities, what they're like behind the scene as well, so that it helped me to actually get to know the players better. Yeah, so I'm really I so if I were to sum it up, I was very fortunate that I got to start off with very friendly and informative talents. They've been helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, like 10 days from the first point of contact to, the start of the season. I mean, yeah, like you kind of explain it in a very easy way, but like having to do like that kind of cramming for each team within the space of 10 days, and I can assume like it kind of requires a lot of like time to put in to just kind of put everything in your head. And so I like, was it kind of overwhelming for you in the sense that you kind of had to do everything like so quickly?
Oh, for sure. I mean, like, because 10 days, it's such a limited time, right? And even with all my cramming, all my VOD replays, and as much as I'm like trying to look for stuff, there's only so much that like I can take in 10 days. So, I'm sure Jen has helped me a lot. It was overwhelming just because I knew that VCT Pacific community, like the fans, the viewers, because they're the experts. I knew that if I fell short on my end, that they would see right through it. So, yeah, it was, if I'm being honest, it was a lot of pressure.
Yeah, and like it's also like I guess like I said, a massive jump from like, not even like having plenty of experience to just being put onto the stage, doing interviews. Like, did you have also like any nerves at all?
I mean, I was nervous, but I gotta do what I gotta do, and I have this tendency of if I'm nervous and if I'm not sure, then I tend to over prep for that interview, just so that I can catch myself if I'm falling short, if I get nervous. So yeah, I tried. Looking back now, I don't know how I did it, but I'm glad it worked out.
No, yeah, for sure. Like one thing that I also want to ask you out of curiosity, now that you kind of bring it up, is just every person that I've talked to when it comes to like broadcast talent, they have their own mode of like forming questions. Even myself, I have my own way of how I want to do my interviews and how I want to like prepare for, talking to people like
Mhm.
yourself. And so, for you, Bella, what is your thought process when it comes to, devising your preparation or devising your questions for an interview that you're going to do with a given player at the end of a match? What's that process like for you?
Um, I've been thinking about that a lot because I've been really busy for the past few months, but I think my goal as of now would be I want like my interviewee to use me as a speaking platform to say what they want to say to the fans or audiences, or just using the opportunity or the interview with me to share what they wanted to say on stage as like the team representative, or what they had to say regarding the game that they just crushed. And I think I try really, really hard for the players to not realize that we're doing an interview right now. I want them to feel like they're talking to a friend and that they're just sharing what's just going through their mind in a very casual way, because a lot of the players are quite introverted. So I think it's really important for me to make them feel as comfortable, and that I'm not like trying to intimidate them or trying to like pick their brains. I just want them to talk to me as, they're talking to a friend and say what they want to say.
Yeah, like it's a pretty like interesting approach, to have, for players like as you said, very introverted, very like people that mostly prefer to just kind of play nonstop and just do so until they play their next competitive match.
Mhm.
Kind of also want to know what's been the hardest part of just having to do that. Has there been moments in which you kind of like struggle in trying to like form that connection with a player whenever like a player like when you get a sense
Yeah.
that like a player doesn't want to like be like that?
Yeah. I wouldn't say it's just because I think it was because I was the new addition, right? So the players, they're already busy playing all day and doing their own research on their opponent. And then here I come in and I'm like friendly, but they don't know who I am, right? And I'm sure it's same for the viewers as well. They're like, who is this? So the first month, I would say I tried to focus on telling everyone, oh, hey, hi, nice to meet you. I'm Bella. I'm one of the new hosts. Nice to meet you. And I just tried to say hello to everyone at the scene just because nobody knew who I am.
Yeah, like it's also like just pretty tough to kind of introduce yourself, because like people are always like used to seeing like Jen. They always see Jen on
Yeah.
the stage. They always see her doing that, doing these interviews, and they always see her doing the translation. So, and then you take that going to Bella,
Hmm.
and then like they're like, as you said, they're like, who is she? Like, what's she doing
The
here,
chat,
right?
the chat was like, where's Jen? And I'm like, I miss Jen too.
No, but
But
but for real,
yeah.
like it's also got to be like kind of a little tough to kind of overcome that initial hurdle, right? To just be more than someone that's like not Jen, right?
Hmm. Just because Jen was already doing such a great job, it was I think it took me a little bit of time to realize that like I'm not here to fill in Jen's shoes. There's Jen, and then there's me. And actually Jen, she helped me get adjusted to the scene like a lot. So she was the one that was always helping me, like, hey, do you have any questions? Always feel free to ask. I can always review those. And, you did great today. Like, just be yourself. So, um, yeah, I think it's safe to say that, like, the first month of stage two was hard, just studying, the cramming, and getting to know everyone and introducing myself, waiting for everyone to want to get to know me. Because I think it did take a little bit of time for people to actually accept me as one of the VCT Pacific talents.
Yeah, like
So,
what it, like on top of just focusing on Jen, because obviously like people are gonna look up to her, given that she's kind of in the same role as you. Who are other people that come to mind that kind of helped you the most, that to help you accommodate yourself, help you get used to the new environment?
um, so Paper Thin, he's a good friend of mine. So he was definitely the one that I went to straight after I got the call for joining VCT Pacific. So I did my own research and I was like, so is this right? Did I get this part right? How do you think I should like look at the next coming up match and all that? He was like kind of my teacher. And as for, I mean, like the other hosts like Victoria and Mika, they were always just trying to like give me good energy because they could sense that, if I'm excited, then my energy just shows very clearly on stage. If I'm doubting myself or if I'm nervous, then it shows very transparently. So yeah, Mika was actually very helpful in telling me and guiding me on how to like recollect myself and get, be more confident.
Yeah,
I
they
mean, like,
always.
and all the other guys too. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Like they are people that have been doing this for a very long time, and so they kind of already understand how, you know, an event goes and how they kind of compose themselves. And w w one other thing that I want to ask you is just the players. What is, I mean, do any players that come to mind that you feel like you were able to connect with the most? Either, like good and very good,
Um, I mean, I think I was very cautious in, getting to know the players. I mean, they got used to me and I would see them at the venue, but I didn't want to like step on any toes because this was such a new boundary. Well, Cruz, he was always so nice, so like he was very friendly to talk to. And I want to say, oh, Team Secret and RQ guys, they were very, very nice. So whenever I would just walk up randomly and start asking questions or like um trying to make small talk, they were always very welcoming. So I was very thankful for that. So I liked it when there was an RQ game and there was a Team Secret game just because I knew that if I asked them something on stage, off stage, they would try their best to reciprocate the energy that I was giving them.
out of
And
curiosity,
as
what?
for
Oh,
the
right, no, you can continue. I was going to ask you something, but you can continue.
oh, as for the Korean teams, I think it kind of may be like a cultural thing, but I just didn't want to like um seem like I was trying to be over friendly. Like, so I would just be polite and talk to them a little bit before going on stage and just in between here and there. But after champs, yeah, I think the players have gotten a little bit more comfortable with me as well. So that's good.
No, I was literally about to ask you about the Korean teams. It's just out of curiosity with that. So glad to know that we're on the same wavelength in that regard. Uh, uh yeah, like there comes a time in which a person, whenever they're in a new environment, they kind of go through the adjustment phase, obviously, and then they get to a point where they feel like Eureka, okay, now I know what it's like, and this goes that goes to this, and I got it, I got it 100%. Were you able to get to reach that point at all during Pacific, like during the middle or ending or anything like that?
I think I got used to how things were going, and I think by like like the end of stage 2. And then like champ started, right? So I was able to utilize what I learned working Pacific Stage 2 into champs. So I was a lot more comfortable with the way I deliver and the way I was trying to come up with questions or deciding which direction I wanted to take that interview. So, but as for the quality of the questions, I don't think I'm there yet.
Interesting, you brought that up. Exactly, like what do you feel was like the biggest, I would say, or maybe it's the right word, regret when it comes to, the kind of questions you gave, in your interviews.
Uh, I think I really wanted to ask for the viewers, like what they wanted to know. I wanted to ask the players so that the players can also, in a way, give back to the fans and scratch that itch that they've got, like the fans. But then, because I was so new to the scene, I don't think I was fully aware of enjoying or viewing like the analytics of the game itself. So like if I see a good play, I would know that it was a good play, but like I wouldn't know the strategy behind it and how many thought steps or like what kind of thought process the players went through in order to make that clutch per se. So if I, study more and if I watch more Valorant related content or listen to more analyst desks, then I think I would be able to see that more. But I think my problem right now is that I need more time, more exposure.
Yeah, and you've definitely been doing that, watching Ascension and stuff like that. I guess from how you kind of described it in your recent answer, I guess you've been taking a lot more time just studying Valorant, the game, and also like past broadcasts.
Uh-huh.
What do you feel is one?
So, oh,
Go ahead.
sorry, I keep interrupting you.
No,
Go
no, no,
on.
no, no. It's all good. No, I was going to do like a follow up as to like which broadcast comes to mind that you feel like you've been learning from the most.
Oh, so it's interesting because I'm bilingual, right? So I would listen to both global and Korean. So let's say there's a spectacular play, I would pause that and I would try to guess how that action played out and who was the main initiator behind that, who started this big play, right? Who painted the big picture. So I would listen to the Korean broadcast and I would listen to the global broadcast as well. But their styles are so different, so it's actually best for me to get best of both worlds. As of I might be biased, but I really like listening to Paper Thin's casting or Desk just because he explains it in a very um digestible way. Like he makes it very easy for someone a newbie like me to understand broadcast as well. And he doesn't use like he whenever he mentions something that went down before, then he always brings that up and re-explains it. So it always helped me a lot. And yeah, the Korean talents, they're very different but helpful in a good way. So I think paper is my best on global. And as for Korean broadcast, I don't know if you know, but Inho Jung, he's one of the our analysts slash casters, and he's an expert at this as well. So,
Yeah, I've seen a little bit of the Korean broadcast, like not just in Valorant, but also like in LCK, League of Legends. And obviously, like who else doesn't? But like from how I kind of been observing the Korean broadcast, it's always high pace, very fast, very
mhm.
like intense, and I've been able to like watch a few videos in which there are clips that translates whatever a broadcaster or a caster is saying, and even then like it's so confusing, like very confusing for me to kind of understand how
Yeah.
and comprehend how like a caster does their work, especially in Korean, and
Hmm.
like how are you able to then kind of like take in the Korean commentary and just kind of dissect it in a way that you can use that for your work.
So, so the casting, they would casters, they tend to try to guess what's going to happen next. So, let's say if a duelist enters from into the ace site, then the opponent will try to cover from here, or if they don't know, then like they're gonna just move on like this. And then if that guess, comes true, then that's when the excitement comes out, and then they carry that information onto the desk and they talk about why and how the caster could have made that guess in a strategy way. So because I'm trying to learn and I have a really hard time looking at the mini map. So them talking about that actually helps me to, read the map in a way
Mhm.
and how the whole rotation is gonna work out.
No, no, for
I
real.
feel guilty
It's
for admitting that I have a very hard time minding the mini map.
yeah, like it does have its own like difficulties, like because I've seen like plenty of like content videos that kind of use only the mini map and that just to kind of explain the give and play and yeah, like it's pretty tough to do that, but it's still also just amazing just to know that you do that, and even despite the obstacles that come to your way, you're able to just kind of process that into your current work. And it's with that said that I kind of now want to transition over to Champions because it's the same kind of deal technically, for you,
Technically.
but obviously it is not. It's not VCT Pacific. It was like literally the entire world. So much bigger audience, much bigger eyeballs on you, much bigger, I would say, comments also, about you.
Mhm.
And so, how did you kind of like move on from Pacific to then move on to Champions? Because I remember that when I finished covering VCT Americas, I was in Los Angeles covering playoffs, and then from the end of that up until the start of Champions, it was like literally 2 weeks, I would say. And so, was it literally like the same deal for you, like same issues for you?
uh More or less because I didn't have a lot of time to cover other teams from other regions. But because I was already getting used to watching the game and seeing how the community reacts, and um, I think it was in a way a little better because I already had that cleared out, like how the system works, like when do they need me, and what kind of players are known to be friendly or very interactive during interviews. I think because I already had that down, and so I think, yeah, it was similar just because I didn't have a lot of time. I was actually very pleasantly surprised that Riot reached out to me to host for Champions as well because
Mhm.
I thought um, even if I was doing a good job for a newbie, just because it's champions, right? Like every team in Valorant, every pro team, every talent that works for Valorant, that's the dream stage that they all want to work at, right? So I was pleasantly surprised, and well, if I'm honest, I was very worried that I would not be able to reciprocate the champions quality or like meet up to that standard.
Yeah, like given how you said it, I guess like since you were so new to the VCT scene, then I can assume that you definitely weren't expecting to get the call up, because I maybe like in your mind you were like, okay, Champions is up, I did what I could, I'm still new, and so if I don't get the call up, that's fine. But next year, maybe next year in the future, I can build on from this. So still, like, was it like a massive shock to you, that you still got it?
Because I was just so concentrated on stage two that I knew that there was going to be a Champions in Seoul like in August, but I didn't think I was on the option at all. I was like, okay, like as soon as we wrap up stage two, like I'll rewatch my work and like all the games that we did this season so that I can prep for next year. And as for champions, I think this would be a really good learning opportunity for me because we have talent from all over the world come in, and it's actually I have so much resources to monitor and study off of. So while I was thinking that, they said, Bella, how's your August schedule? Can you work for champs? So I was like, yeah. I didn't
Literally,
even hesitate.
literally just like that, just like one. Was it like by text message or like by call, like them telling you, the invite?
Oh, I actually ran in. So I think it was during one of my work days
Mhm.
that they reached out. They were like, I went to say, hi. I was waiting to shoot my arrivals for
Mhm.
stage two, and I just said hi, and they were like, "Oh, what's your schedule for August like?" So I said, "Oh, nothing esports related." They're like, "Oh, we want you to join. Would you like to?" And I said, "Yeah, but when is it?" And that's how it all. That's how it happened.
Like literally during like the VCT Pacific season, right?
Yeah,
That's
it's
crazy.
yeah. And I actually even asked her, "What? Why?"
Mhm.
It's
Yeah,
like, "Are
yeah,
you sure you want to go with me?" Because, as you know, I'm very new.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, what did she say? Like, what was her response to? What was that person's response to your question?
She said, yeah, well, you're doing great even for a newbie, and we really like your energy. So I think um you we want to show that at champs. So I was like, oh, that's very nice of you. Thank you. All right, let's do it.
And
Because she yeah, she responded perfectly because I'm all about energy.
yeah, yeah, for sure. You definitely did do that, and just want to now cover, the day to day in Champions, because like, was it literally like the same as it was in Pacific? Just arrive in a studio, prep for a game, work on your questions, then focus on whichever player you want to interview, or was there any differences between Pacific and Champs?
Uh the main difference I would say was the halftime interviews.
Mm,
Because in Pacific, we didn't do any of like the live audience interviews during half times. So that was the first time for me, and I loved it. I think it helped me realize that I actually like talking to strangers and getting to know them. So I had a lot of fun with that. Like, the families of the players that come to watch the game, we would interview them, the parents, the siblings, the girlfriends. That was the main difference because if we have a lot of interviewees in the crowd, then like production wanted us to get as many interviews as possible because, you know, if they don't win this match, then they go home, right? So that was the biggest difference. So prepping for that and, looking them up, looking the interviewee and like information up on them, asking around. Insu was very helpful because she's been around a lot. She's been around for a long time, so she knew most of the interviewees that came to watch the game. So let's say I had to interview Boo's family. but when Minnie Boo's family, like she told me, oh, that's the oldest brother, and she would just tell me the minimum information that I needed to know. And then with that, I would just go into the audience and try to talk to them a little bit before our actual interview started so that I could actually get a feel of what kind of person they're like and um, try to match that energy because I didn't want to be overwhelming or, if they're very active and outgoing, then I needed to, pump my energy level up as well. So that was the main difference.
Yeah, like for sure. Like as you said in Pacific, we don't you guys don't really have those halftime interviews, but like in VCT Americas, like my league that I usually like not usually, but like always covered in 2024,
Mm-hmm.
halftime interviews like the norm. You know, like what regardless of any match that goes on, you'd eventually have like someone like Liz. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Liz and
Uh, I had so much fun watching her interviews.
yeah, she definitely
At the
like
end,
yeah, that's the like she I remember this one interview she did like talking to the family and with the Sentinel's baby. That was definitely like a very like one of my favorite interviews like of the entire year, I would say.
so
And then like the baby definitely had a lot of things to say, just giving her thoughts on the strategies of Sentinels and how it'll go on like in 2024 and then stage 2, very analytical baby, I will say that. But yeah, like uh sticking with the halftime thing, what do you have like any kind of favorite interview that you kind of look back on and say like, hey, I like this one the most, I'm kind of proud of that one.
hands down, the interview with Zekin's mom and Tenz's uncle. I
Yes.
don't know if you remember, Zekin's mom did a little dance. So before going for the interview, we decided that she had this dance that she wanted to show. It was the Gangnam Style dance. And Tenz's uncle, he told me that he could speak a little Korean and that he would like to get a little bit of screen time to share that. So I said, all right, I'll mention that. And then we were doing the interview, and I was not aware that Tenz's uncle was that good at Korean. So the Korean fans loved it. Zekin's mom was just, she will always have this special place in my heart. She was such a lovely person. The dance, it actually made me laugh like out loud. So yeah, so we danced into the next map.
Or actually danced into like the actual map, like literally end of interview all the way to the restart.
Yeah, because like I could hear that we were running out of time. And then the dance, I thought it would last like 3 seconds, but then it went on. She wanted me to do the dance as well. So we just marched into the next map together. And then like the game started. That
Love it.
was, yeah, it was lovely. I love those kind of moments where you can actually enjoy what you're doing for work.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like those are definitely the highlights. Like I also had like my fun moments whenever I do an interview with a player and stuff like that. I even like during the press conferences, there was a moment in which I believe King back in Master Shanghai was like it was during the press conference for Leviathan, and then like the moderator called my name to ask a question. They said like, "Hey, next questions from Pedro Romero," and then King, hearing my name, kind of sang the little jingle of the song. The Pedro song. I'm not sure you're familiar with that.
Oh, with the dog, like the
Yeah,
raccoon?
yeah, 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 yeah. That one, that one, that
Oh,
one.
I know that song, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then he kind of like did that, and I kind of like said like thanks a lot for that, King. I really do appreciate it. And then they all started laughing. So that's one of my favorite things that I would say.
For sure.
Definitely love that. And I think
Um,
another one instance of that happened in Champions of 2024 and players and all that stuff. I think it was Crew. Kind of did the same thing, but yeah. Anyway, uh, talking about the players just to kind of bring it all together. Uh, favorite interview, that you had with a player this time, and who it is, and why.
Favorite interview at Champs. Mm. So it is my favorite in a way that not the stereotypical good, like not long answers, but like one that's engraved in my brain is my interview with Simon, EDG Simon, because he's a man of few words. And I think I tried my best to make him, respond longer because I've heard that he's not a very uh talkative. He's not very chatty. And I wanted him to get interviewed just because he was the new face, and I wanted, I'm a newbie as well, so it'd be nice to have the newbies on stage. And then, but he said, "Oh, thank you," later after the interview, so I guess he had a good time, so it made me feel better about the whole interview. The community, they thought that it was funny that he was not looking at me and he didn't really respond a lot. So, but I had my fun, so that was a memorable interview. It's been quite a while since we did Champs, so I'm trying to remember if I had a very um, meaningful interview. But yeah, EDG Simon interview is the one that comes to mind.
Yeah, like it's esports is so fast paced that like whenever we're done with one event, we're actually going on to another one. So obviously that kind of makes our memory very fuzzy. So yeah, I do understand, the trouble and kind of recalling everything. And yeah, uh, also want to ask you about another experience you had in Champs. You were able to meet with like Mark Tuan, Julie, Natty. The
Mm.
performance of the opening ceremony. What was that like?
So I didn't have the confidence or guts to tell Natty and Julie that I'm actually a kissy. Like, I actually like them. Like, my YouTube algorithm is just kiss of life. So I just fangirled really hard and I said, "Can I get a picture?" And they were so nice about it too. And I mean, they were my idols. So I was actually really looking forward to seeing them in the live performance, which they crushed. That was awesome. And Mark Tuan, he was so nice too. Just because I guess I had a prejudice that because, if you have been in the industry for so long and if you have everyone around you asking for pictures, then you might want a little moment to yourself. But they were so nice. The performance was banger. I wish I could have seen it just like in the middle of the stage in the center to get a better view. But yeah, it was awesome. I think the opening performance actually made it feel real that this was Champs.
Mhm.
That like this is the top tier event of the whole year.
Yeah, and it also like makes it that much more important because like obviously like I'm kind of sure that you've had your own share of international land experience, international events. You've been a part of that before over in PUBG. If I'm wrong, correct me on that. But like, you compare that with this, and this is like at the absolute final biggest tournament of the year.
Mhm.
Did you also kind of recognize like, oh, like holy holy crap, I'm actually like doing a major event like this.
Uh-huh, for sure. So PUBG events, when I first started out with PUBG, except for Nations Cup, which was held in Seoul, all the events that I didn't have live audience. So Champs, VCT Champs, VALORANT Champions was the first time that I actually got to see like live audience. Everyone was there to see the game, so that made it feel really real. Like the opening performance aside, the number of fans there and like the stadiums were packed. Like it was packed. So yeah, it felt surreal.
Yeah, for sure. Like, definitely surreal because, like, I was in last year's Champions event in Los Angeles, and like, I already had a few international events, logged in before that event. I was covering like Dota, CS, and then like female CS. I'm not sure you're familiar with what I'm talking about, but
Mm.
still, like, that Champs was like the first time in which I also felt like the feeling that you felt like this is what, like, the kind of thing that I want to be in, the kind of work that I want to continue pursuing in. Yeah, like it's such a like a significant moment, I would say, that like you feel it's gonna carry with you the entire way. And yeah, like, one kind of thing, if there's one thing that you feel kind of stands out to you the most out of your entire experience in Champions, what would that one thing be and why?
Mm, huh. That's a tough question. Because before the last week at Champs, the venue that Champs was held at was the same venue that Pacific usually holds the games. So I think I didn't really feel until then. I don't think I felt that this was actually Champs, even with all the fans like filling up the seats at our original venue. Like it didn't really feel that much different. And then once everything moved to Inspire, I think that was when I realized that it was different. I was surprised that people recognized me.
Hmm, really?
I, yeah, just because I'm new, so I didn't think that anyone would actually know. So I was surprised that people recognized me. Is this too self-centered? I was pretty
Wow.
shocked by that.
No, like, interesting you brought that up. Is it self-centered? Like, do you kind of feel like that?
No, I was just surprised. I was like, "Oh, you know me? Oh my god, thank you." I was like, "Thank you. Uh, thank you for saying hi. Thank you for asking for pictures." I was really happy that, you know, I wasn't just doing something that like nobody cares about. Like it felt nice to be seen
Mhm.
because, I think it was mainly because um I was new to the scene, so I wasn't very confident with the work that I was putting out. I was always like, "Oh, I could do this better." Like, "Oh, I need to do this." I missed out on so many things. I forgot to mention a couple of things. But then, so it was like a breath of fresh air when someone just, when fans said hi, they're like, "Oh, you're doing great." And I was like, "Oh, thank you so much. That means a lot." It hit me on a deeper level than they probably intended it to.
Yeah, like, most definitely, because like I kind of like, observed your questions, from the comfort of my home, because like I'm out during this entire time I was just, over here in America, just trying to cover
Mhm.
a Champions with little sleep, with little sleep in
I don't
my.
know how you do it.
No, well, I can tell you the day-to-day schedule. So like, so over here in America, the matches would start at around 3 a.m. I'm not sure what the time was over there in Korea, right?
Mhm.
Like,
Like then 5 p.m. ish.
yeah.
5 p.m. ish. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, 3 a.m. Uh, I kind of like I would kind of cheat it in a way in which I understand that like every match is a best of three
Mhm.
up until like finals, and so I could like forego the first hour, and so I'd wake up at around
Mhm.
like 4 a.m. and then I try to catch up with that. I normally sleep late, and so I sleep at around like 11 to 12 or maybe 1, and then
Mm-hmm.
like I'd go from that, wake up at 4, try to stay up. If I get any confirmations for a one-on-one interview, then I try to prepare myself for
Mm-hmm.
that, while also,
Mm-hmm.
already having the topics that I want to ask. And uh all of this would go on until like 9 a.m., which is over here in America, or maybe even 10 a.m. And then
Wow.
I like upload everything, finish everything, and then go to go to bed. And then this is like during days in which I don't have to work my other job. Uh, like this is like during the days I'm able to do that. In the days in which I'm not able to kind of have that liberty to cover the entire day, I'd cover the first match. It'll end around like 8 a.m. and then go into my other job from like 9 to 4. All that, no sleep. And then once I get home, I try to like prepare for the next day up until like 11, 10. So yeah, that's just kind of
You're the
how it
real
was.
champ.
So yeah, that's kind of
You were
how
the
I did
real
it.
champ over there.
No, 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 I'm not the real champ. EDG's the real champ. They are the real literal champ. I'm just some dude covering that covered champs. So yeah, like that's the kind of thing that happened for me. Hopefully it doesn't happen again. Well, maybe it'll happen again once we reach Masters Bangkok, but yeah, it's the
Yeah.
future. Who cares about that?
Yeah. Yeah. Think about
Focusing,
that then.
yeah, focus on that later. Just focusing back onto you for the present, because that's what matters most for this video. And so, uh, getting back into just my train of thought before I kind of went off on the side. Uh, what it, can you kind of walk me through your day to day? When it came to covering Valorant.
Uh, so camp day or a normal Pacific day, I would get up, walk my dog, and then head over to the venue around 11 because I needed to get my hair and makeup done the earliest. I had the first slot. So I would head over there, get it all set up, be done by around 1:32-ish. And like the games, they start at 5, right? So I have a little bit of time, but that's when I would usually do other, if they requested other interviews or translation on the scene, then I would do that. If not, I would have enough spare time for me to like prep and go ask questions to other talents or production on what kind of things I had in mind. So yeah, in Pacific, we would film arrivals around like 3. So I would get my makeup done, get changed to go film arrivals, and then be back in time for the match to start. But after the first game, I had to go film arrivals for the second match, the upcoming match at 8. So I missed a lot of the game time. And if it ends 2-0, then I had to like run up again and go on stage for post-match interviews. So I was always on my phone watching the game while I was doing other stuff as well. It was very hectic. But Champs a little bit of a was a bit more relaxed just because we had halftime interviews and then after that I could watch the game entirely.
Yeah, now that I remember, like you even translated for one of my interviews that I did during Champions, I
Yes, I
believe.
did.
Yeah, you
Uh-huh.
did. Yeah, because like I think it was
So,
yeah,
was it with Meteor?
I believe
One
so.
of
I
the
think
Genji guys there. Yeah.
yeah, I'm kind of thinking somebody else. I was kind of thinking of, for some reason, Saya player, but I know that I was in Shanghai, so I'm kind of like having weird memory. But yeah, I think it was Meteor. Now that I remember, because I
Um,
I, I even I even tagged you because I kind of recognized your voice during the translation.
oh, you did?
Yeah. Because like I recognized your voice from the broadcasts, and when I realized a little bit that it was you doing the translation, I was like, oh, hey, it's Bella. I'll just try to like do something like that. But yeah,
I recognized your voice from the press as well. So when Paper Thin mentioned it to me, I was like, "Oh, no, Pedro," and he was like, "You do it?" And I was like, "No, I don't know him. I haven't like met him, but like I know who he is."
yeah, because like
And
I was like literally almost present in almost every press conferences, every press conference
mhm,
throughout the event. Like I said,
mhm.
pretty grueling, but you know it is what it is. But yeah, uh, yeah, definitely an eye-opening experiences to listen to you talk about your experience in Champions and just having to go through all of that stuff. Now I kind of want to now pivot back to before Pacific, before Champions. Just cover what you did
Oh,
before. You know, I also that was what I was trying to make. That's what I was trying to talk about. So, you did a
mhm.
little bit of PUBG. You know, you talk a little bit about that, but even before PUBG, what got you into esports first and foremost?
So I've always wanted to. I've always like thought of the esports scene as something that was unapproachable, just because I'm not good at games, especially FPS games. I'm a very Tetris arcade kind of gal. So I would see all the players and like the games and the things that they do, but I never thought that I could work there just because I wasn't good at the game myself. So like who would listen to someone who doesn't know what they're talking about, right? But
Mhm.
then before, so I actually started my esports host career last year April. And before that, I originally wanted to become a news anchor.
Mm.
So I was, going to auditions, studying the news every day. And then um, one thing led to another, and I didn't get to do the news anchor that I wanted. I didn't get to do the news that I wanted to, but
Mhm.
I ended up doing a fishing show, like a open water ocean by the harbor fishing. So it's just me trying to fish and my struggles. Um, yeah, I did that, and then I think PUBG at the time, like a few months later, like 3, 4 months later, PUBG was looking for a bilingual host for their global series, and I one of the one of the friends that I knew, she gave my contact to Crafted, and oh, this girl is bilingual and she has really good energy. You should have a meeting with her. And then I started PUBG. Yeah, I played a lot of PUBG when I first got reached out, died while farming. I don't know if you know a lot about PUBG, but yeah.
Kind of a little bit because like I didn't really focus. I don't really focus much on PUBG. I just know that that there's a an esports scene, but besides that, like not really like that focus onto it. But yeah.
Yeah, so I did PUBG last year and this year as well. Before, I think just before, no, just after I got back from doing another PUBG thing in Shanghai, which was in the same time frame as Master Shanghai. So we were both in Shanghai, and then I got back, and then um, the Pacific team reached out to me,
Hmm.
and I'm actually leaving next Saturday for another PUBG event to Thailand. Yeah,
Is
so
it like
that's
so? Is it like the same kind of event that you worked on before? Like, but the newest edition?
yeah. I've been the host for PUBG Global Series,
Mm.
so that's when I would need to do both bilingual, be bilingual, use my bilingual skills, and then yeah. So I did 3 in Shanghai, and the upcoming tournament is called PGS 5, which is going to be in Bangkok. And there's also going to be one in December that would be PUBG Global Champions. And I haven't been to a PUBG championship myself, so I'm kind of excited for that too.
That's like champions, right? In Valorant, right? The
Mm-hmm.
final main
Yeah,
event.
yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, okay. No, that's very interesting. Just observing that. I kind of want to focus on one part of your answer, um, just now. Going back into trying to be a sports anchor. You mentioned one thing led to another. If you kind of want to elaborate on that, if it got my curiosity, what kind of led to it not working out specifically?
The irony is that because I'm bilingual, my Korean sounds more casual.
Mm,
So, in order to be a formal news anchor, my Korean diction has to be perfectly spot on. And they didn't really like that I was so free spirited and just very energetic, because they
mm,
would expect their news anchors to be more reserved and calm in a professional manner and looks wise as well. I actually went to so if you audition to be a news anchor, you go through different stages of the whole audition, right?
mhm.
And well, I've been to a couple of the final stages, and they straight up told me that I was too bright.
Really?
Yeah. They
That
said I was too bright and energetic and too unpredictable.
what? That makes
But
no sense.
this plus being bilingual is what makes me a worthy host, right? So I
Yeah.
guess all in all, it worked out. I think I found my path.
I mean, I can understand in the sense that like newscasts kind of require people to be more serious and kind of like read out the news in one specific way, but like yeah,
Mhm.
I still don't understand like how that's possible. Maybe it's kind of a Korean thing, maybe because like I like I'll be honest, I don't watch much of like the local news. Like I kind of get my news from like online. So, but still like that kind of like approach, bringing energy to a broadcast, I feel that's not really that looked down upon like much more in the West, like in America compared to Korea. I guess like
Yeah,
it makes it pretty weird to understand from my end.
because I think it also had to do with my personality as well. Because I didn't grow up in Korea, so I guess in the judges' eyes, the corporate people's eyes, they thought that I was a little bit too um globalized. Trying to word it
Mm,
nicely, but I don't
okay.
think I can find the right term for it.
Yeah, I don't think I can
Free
find it
spirited.
either. I don't think I can I don't think I can kind of identify the kind of word you're looking for, but I do understand what you're getting at. And yeah, like there's another thing I want to touch upon out of curiosity. I would say like one of the major points that I want to talk to you about the fact that you're bilingual and you say you didn't really grow up much in Korea. Where exactly did you grow up?
So I was born in Korea, but I moved to Singapore when I was 7. So I went to an international school there, and I graduated elementary school. So I lived there around till 7 till 12 ish. So and then I came back to Korea for a bit, but I still went to an international school. So I got all my education in English. And then I left for Seattle, um, 8th grade, like
Hmm?
at the start of 8th grade, and then I finished middle school and high school there, and then I came back to Korea for uni. So when I first came back in 2015 to Korea, my Korean was, well, it was bad.
Mm-hmm.
I sounded like a foreigner trying to learn Korean, and right now it's gotten a lot better. People can't tell that I used to live abroad. That means I'm doing a good job, right?
Yeah, you definitely got my surprise because like I thought as well like okay obviously this person's from Korea but the fact that you also speak English kind of brought about the possibility like you growing up outside of the country. But yeah, like still Singapore and then Seattle,
Mhm.
pretty great places to live, I would say. Yeah. Talk to me about your life in Singapore. What was that like, and also in Seattle?
My Singapore days, I was just this tanned, happy little girl swimming all the time. I think I was, because I was so young, I didn't really appreciate the life that I had back then. Like, looking back now, I would love to swim every day, only go to school for like, how many, like 5, 6 hours a day, and like get everything done for me by my mom. Looking
Oh
back,
yeah.
I think, yeah. And one regret that I have from the time that I spent in Singapore is that I didn't pick up Chinese there. I didn't
Hmm.
pick up Mandarin because it's such a multicultural country. If I could turn back time, I would definitely learn Mandarin then as well. But mm, yeah, it was nice. I haven't been back in so long, so it's actually on my bucket list to actually go back and see how everything's changed. It might make me sad a little bit, but maybe we'll get a Valorant event in Singapore.
Yeah, maybe. And yeah,
Maybe.
maybe indeed. And I have a friend in Malaysia that's kind of like the neighbor of Singapore, and yeah, I do understand it's a very multicultural region over there because you got people saying speaking in I don't know the exact like description of or the word or phrase to describe people from Malaysia, Malay or something. Then you got Chinese, and you got um English, you got other languages that I can't really tell you off the top of my head. But yeah, like Chinese, definitely that would have been something, just listening to Bella speaking Chinese, that definitely would
Mm.
make for a very interesting interviewer. So yeah. What about in Seattle? What was that like?
Seattle. Oh, I had a really good time just because I actually didn't, because I enjoyed my time there so much. Like, because I was in high school, I really couldn't do much traveling in the States alone, like, or with my friends because we were minors. But because um, I actually liked living in the States so much that I didn't want to come back to Korea for uni. But my parents were against it because I've lived abroad for so long that they were worried that I would forget my Korean roots because they
Mm-hmm.
wanted me to be a bilingual, not like a Korean American, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. But yeah, Seattle, I think I am a Seattleite at heart just because those are the times that I can actually remember through my teenage years, like my middle school, high school, my friends, and all the fun stuff like the school dances and all that. Like, that's the memory that I will carry with me for the rest of my life in a very distinct way, right? So, yeah. I actually went back in 2021 to see my friends,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the same.
Same
So I was,
vibes.
yeah, same vibes, rainy, cloudy, gray all around,
Hey, I will say though,
coffee.
like coffee. I don't drink coffee, but yeah. No, but I bet what's that face that you're surprised that I don't drink coffee? Well, I mean, then again, I did tell you the schedule in Champions, so it does kind of have you expect. But no, I don't drink coffee actually.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised because how can you carry that work schedule without caffeine?
Drink soda.
Soda?
Yeah, like water,
Hmm.
soda, basically.
I've never tried the old soda water method. I'm just like, coffee, or give me my coffee.
Okay. Let me rephrase myself. I don't really like actually like drink soda and then water together and just drinking like no. It's like
Oh, you drink them separately.
yeah, no. I'm not that psychopathic. I'm not that psychotic. No.
I
No,
was
no, no.
wondering what the watering down soda has. What kind of effect does that have?
Probably not a good one, I would say. So all I can tell you is like don't do me. So don't do what I do, obviously. Um, but yeah, like Seattle,
Mhm.
I've been there for I actually been to Seattle for like a week, covering the international Dota 2 event. I'm not sure if you know what that is, right?
Yeah, I know of the game, but I've never played it myself.
Well, think of it
But
as
Seattle, that's awesome.
yeah, I went there in last year, like exactly around this time last year in October, covering the finals, like when it was like in the main stage, like in the key
Hmm.
arena over there.
Oh,
So yeah, like I was there. Weather's beautiful, very steep, very steep. Like I kind of had to like work out just to kind of walk 3 steps, like
yeah.
up a street. It's crazy, but
Mhm.
I was able to watch the like the how do you say it? How do you say it? The tower, obviously, and the
The Space
coast.
Needle?
Yeah, yeah, the Space Needle,
Oh,
the Space Needle.
mhm,
Yeah. Obviously, I had to go to those areas. Didn't have enough time to visit anywhere else, but yeah,
mhm.
Seattle. You know,
Yeah,
anyone who wants
Seattle.
to visit Seattle, definitely on my recommendations and also Bella's recommendation. And so,
Mhm.
still sticking back into Seattle. Were you like? Is it fair to say that like you were like the popular kid? Were you like the one of the popular people in like high school, social life, all that stuff?
Ah, I don't know if I would be popular. I was friends with everybody, but I don't think I was your typical um like cheerleader. I don't
Mhm.
think I would be that. I was just friends with everyone. I think because my school, we had a lot of international students joining per since my junior year. I think I worked a lot with the staff, the administration office to help the other students get used to it, like be buddies, bring them to events. Yeah.
So
I think I
so
was just
so
like the nice Korean kid that was, friends with everyone. Wasn't the best in math despite my Korean roots.
so you were like basically like a guide for like the incoming students.
Yeah, so when they would first, just because they weren't very familiar with the language, they would need someone native to talk to, right? Well, the Korean students I would get, and then I would pair like the other Chinese or Japanese students with other buddies. And, if there's like a school event, then I would take them with me just so that they can actually enjoy the event. My friends would be, super nice and caring just to, get to befriend them as well, make them feel welcomed. So yeah, I actually went to a Christian school. It was a private Christian school, so like my school wasn't really that big. So everyone knew everyone, so it was important that I get along with a lot of people.
Well, definitely worked out for the better for you. You're just having to, be that kind of person. Going over into uni, did you exactly like study in broadcast? Like, was that like always your goal to do that, or were you actually covering a different subject altogether?
Uh, I had no idea that I was gonna make a living with this career because my major in uni is English education. So initially I thought I would, go to graduate school and then get my doctors and then become a professor. That was my original goal. Or maybe um, use my student council experiences to go into politics. I
Mm.
think I was um, still trying to navigate what I wanted to do with my life. And then I have this I met this other graduate from my school, my major specifically, and she's a finance anchor. So like she does stocks and like stuff like that. So she told me like, hey, you would be really good at becoming an announcer. Like you have the qualities, you make people, happy by looking at you. So why don't you just try it out? See if you like it, and if you like it, then maybe it'll work out for you. And then that's how it all just kind of happened. It wasn't like my dream goal or what I thought I would be doing in the future.
Yeah, just basically like just the like you seeing a chance to kind of do something and you say, okay, screw it, let's just do it and see where it goes. And then here we
Yeah,
are.
why not?
Yeah, right. Yeah, it
Yeah,
certainly
I think
does
my
feel
life
like that.
motto is kind of like that. Why not? Yeah, sure, why not? I think a lot of the big changes in my life have happened because of my sure, why not attitude. Champs too, sure, why not?
Yeah, that's it's definitely one way to do it. I mean, sure, there's like certainly like some risks that you kind of considered, right? Like as in, oh, what happens if like this doesn't work out? Do I kind of go back into my original plan, or maybe do I just
Mhm,
kind of rethink on my original run or my original plan and
mhm.
just plan on anything else? Did that also like come into your mind?
Yeah, for sure. When um I was so like it's hard enough to get into the final stages of like the anchor announcer auditions, right? But then imagine going through all of that for months of work and then getting told that like, oh, like you yourself as a person is kind of unacceptable in this field. So
Mhm.
like, yeah, it was hard just accepting because when I heard that, like I thought like that wasn't like a good enough answer. Like if it's something that I'm doing
Mhm.
or like the way I'm wording things, if it's like I can take constructive criticism, but then like the reasons that they gave me kind of felt like a personal attack on like my character, right? And there's nothing I could do to change that because I wasn't doing anything wrong. So I struggled a little bit because I was, it was making me sad. But then like I think one day it hit me like, it is what it is. Like if they don't like me, like someone else will. And because I haven't done anyone wrong, like if I work on myself, I'll be fine.
Mhm.
And then, yeah.
No,
Oh,
yeah,
makes
like
me sad.
well, like yeah, like there's a pretty what's the way to say a different kind of thing when it comes to like applications and just having to like tell like people like yourself, oh, you didn't do well because just like you were not good, basically like that. That
Mhm.
kind of thing does happen um prevalent, I
To
would say.
everyone.
Yeah, right. Specifically like in Korea, right? Because like I am kind of familiar with like now we're getting into the society thing, but like such as the,
Mhm.
the way how I do my questions, but it does kind of feel like it is difficult to kind of forge your own path, in a society like Korea, which it's very cutthroat and basically it's last man for themselves kind of thing, right?
Mhm.
But yeah.
For sure. You're not wrong.
Yeah, like that also just kind of also brought about the issues that you kind of brought up, just having to deal with like understanding why people don't, or people say that you're bad in like your application and stuff like that.
Hmm. And like I had my doubts, while I was auditioning, like, is this the right path for me? And what if it doesn't work out? But then I think it felt, in a way, I know myself. So like, if I don't like try until like I run out of like, if I don't try, then I know I'm gonna like regret it, and then maybe I might even come back a few years later and redo this. So like that's kind of stupid, right? Like if you're gonna try, then give it your best and like focus and dedicate like a specific amount of time or years that you have into this. If you do it like if you give it your all for that period, and if it still doesn't work out, then like then you got to just accept that this was not your time and your path. So I think having that kind of mindset made it easier for me to like focus solely and actually dive into like what I wanted to change about myself regarding like the career um requirements. And then that's when like it started snowballing, and like I got a meeting with like a fishing show that really liked my character. So that was refreshing. And doing that kind of helped me regain my confidence back. So I actually was able to give that energy and carry that out through PUBG. And then, here I am.
Yeah, like definitely. And you mentioned that one thing that you also wanted to respond, the fishing show. Exactly what was that about? Like, does it have like a title like as in fishing
Very
with
good.
Bella or like fishing
You
with
know,
Bella, something like
like
that?
the board game like Monopoly, right?
Yeah, yes, yeah,
But it
like
was like so I would have to roll a dice every time we film. And then like wherever like the dice like I would move locations according to the map, and we would go fish there. So it was kind of like an adventure show. So like I wouldn't know where we're gonna go, what we're supposed to do, like the area at all. So I would just pack my bags and then I would meet them at the set, and then I would roll a dice and then we would go fishing. And then the thing was I couldn't like say bye, or like the episode couldn't end until I actually caught a fish. So that was, yeah, it took me a while to film because not only am I like new at fishing, I was having trouble like putting the live worms in like the bait. That was a struggle in itself.
no way. Like, was this actually like for like an actual like major network, or is it like a very small network?
It was mm, so it would be because like the fishing community here is very, we I don't know how to describe it. It's not like major, but like a lot of people fish. Like a lot of men in like late mid 30s to like and up, like they all fish and they all watch the network, the fishing TV. They all watch it, but it's not like one of the three major networks. It's like a very popular cable. I think that's the way to put it. It was on every Friday. So that's when you know it's a popular show.
Every Friday, that's when you know it's Bella time, Bella fishing time.
Mhm.
Gotta ask you straight up: are the videos on YouTube? Is there a way for me to kind of access
They
them?
are. They actually are, but I think you have to type in I think you have to type in Korean. I don't think it's in English. Let me look it up. And it's
Please,
I don't
please,
know if
but
I want the world to know this, but somehow I've seen posts online on communities that like fans, they looked up my name and they found me fishing. So I'm just like, how? How do you guys know?
yeah, moving on from that, we're kind of now getting into the tail end of this conversation because I'm sure you have other things to do. And so, uh, covering a little bit now onto the future. Given that now you've been able to work in VCT Pacific and now you've been able to, experience the bright lights of Valorant Champions so quickly. Do you feel like now, moving forward into 2025 and, focusing on that, do you feel like now you're going to like primarily focus on Valorant? Is that like a fair judgment for me to give?
Um, I would say so. I think um, it would be ideal for me to dive into Valorant solely just so that I could bring like the high quality questions and the like for my energy to be concentrated solely on Valorant. I think that's what every one of the viewers deserve because I don't think they deserve like a mid interview, because like the community itself, they're experts themselves. So I think, yeah, I want to say yeah.
Yeah, like, and that said, given what you said about your experience in PUBG and Valorant, given how new you feel you still are, or how new you still feel you are, not even like
Mm.
2 years into your esports career, still like out of curiosity, how do you kind of compare Valorant to PUBG? Your line of work, the audience, the spectacle, the experience. How do you kind of compare both games overall for you?
Huh. Hmm. I think if I'm being very, very frank, then I think it would be PUBG, the game itself is harder to get into just because of like its whole setting, of like the whole military setting. Like, I think it's a little harder for more fans to get to love that game just because it's very realistic, like all the items and all the different setups. Um, but it makes it easier to watch from a pro esports perspective just because everything is very simple
Mhm.
and not a lot of things are happening at once. It's just like as the circle comes closer, then things start to get intense. But as for Valorant, the game itself, it's very, I would say it's very easy to love just because of all the different skills and the agents and like the graphics. It's easy for a lot of people to start loving it, but it's another thing to be very good at it. So I think, um, and from an esports perspective, I think it's actually really hard to cast a Valorant game just because of like it's so speedy. You
Mhm.
got to explain everything while taking in everything, and then you got to recap all that, and you got to remember the things that happen in a split second. So, the major difference that I felt working two games was that um, Valorant definitely needs like a deeper understanding of the whole about everything, not even just the game, but like how the tactics and the strategies. There's so many things to consider for you to be good at Valorant and for you to be a good caster or an analyst. So, yeah. But I think I enjoy playing Valorant more, even though I'm really bad because my main is Sage, so that
Mm, mm,
speaks
mm,
volume.
Yeah,
Yeah, and
definitely
I'm not
does.
afraid to hide it. I'm not afraid to hide it. I will be a good Sage. Just you wait all.
Definitely a good sage, and I'll be sure. I'll also let everybody know that you are a sage me, so that way, you'll definitely know. You'll definitely experience the wrath of the Valorant community for having to play that agent. So, stay tuned on that. I do believe, and so, uh,
All right.
uh, given what you've said about your versatility and just having to adjust and work in different games. There have been plenty of people, myself included, in which I don't really focus on Valorant. It's just the fact that I was able to garnered plenty of popularity this year that I had to cover Valorant. I covered various games, as I kind of mentioned throughout this conversation. League of Legends, Dota 2, Counter Strike, all that stuff. Point being, for you, do you have any plans to kind of get into other games in the future? Besides what you're already familiar with, PUBG, Valorant, or anything else?
Um, for sure, why not, right? But then I think if I am to venture out into different games, I think I would definitely be interested in games that are not FPS. Just because since I'm out to explore other options and like learn about other games and its communities, I would like to try something that is kind of outside my comfort zone in a way. Yeah. But I mean, I think all games, even if they're FPS, I think they're all different. So, but maybe shorter games that last shorter, because PUBG games and Valorant days, they're very long.
Mhm. Well, I gotta give you the obvious follow up to that. What is the game that you're kind of thinking of when you say this is a short game? What is it?
Oh, I haven't like actually watched it, but um, StarCraft.
Ooh, yeah.
I heard StarCraft. Like I've tried to like watch some of the Korean StarCraft esports, and like I see everything that's going on, but like because I'm not a StarCraft fan yet, I don't know what's happening. But it seems to wrap up pretty quickly,
Mhm.
was my take.
I will say that I'm sure that you already know that StarCraft is legendary, especially in Korea, and
Mm-hmm.
definitely it'll be a sight tip for you to see. Speaking of StarCraft, I was able to talk to Chobra back in
Mm-hmm.
Dream back in DreamHack because uh earlier this summer in DreamHack Dallas. And I'm sure if you're familiar with the
Mm-hmm.
name of that city, but
Yeah.
yeah, Dallas. It's in the same. It's in this. It's a city that's in the same state that I live in, Texas. And so
Oh,
I
okay.
was able to talk to him, Chobra, after one day of like the StarCraft event that was taking place in that convention, and I
Mm-hmm.
was able to do an interview with him, video for the channel. And one of the questions that I asked
Mm-hmm.
him is sort of where does he view the future of Valorant in Korea, and given Korea that it's basically the birthplace of esports and how it is the base for whether or not a game can be successful, and it being also the place where legendary players in StarCraft and League of Legends kind of took place. I asked him if Valorant has the potential to kind of surpass those games in popularity and also that kind of stuff. So I ask you, sure, you're one person, but still, I want to ask you out of curiosity, Bella, do you kind of feel that whether or not Valorant has the potential to, be a bigger game than like StarCraft, League of Legends, Overwatch?
Yeah, for sure. Just because of the way it's growing, and as more fans join and are able to enjoy the esports, like I think they're actually here to stay. Just because for Valorant, I think one of the main charms is that you actually don't know how the day is going to wrap up. Like you don't know round by round, and there's so many ways that things can go south for both teams that even if you're rooting for like your bias, you got to admit that the other team is good. Yeah, I think yeah, for sure. And hopefully not just because I'm working it, because the game does deserve more hype than it has now.
Mhm. To be more specific, also again out of my curiosity, exactly how many years do you kind of see this future taking shape into reality?
Hmm. Um, I would say it would need at least 2 years, though. I think after 2 years, because of Champs being in Seoul this year, and if next year Pacific does get a lot of recognition and all the firepower, if it's Pacific and Korean teams are able to keep the you know attention that they've gotten this year and carry that on to next year, and if we're able to build on that, then I think minimum of 2 years. We would have to see how like the next 2 years pan out for the general direction of
Mhm.
esports. Who knows?
Yeah,
We might find a different region that is just insane other than Korea. So
even so, like at the very end of the day, though, like after the end of the 2024 season, we were finally able to see a Korean international champion in Jennlee after seeing DRX kind of try again to kind of do that, weren't able to do so and had to wait until Jennlee to make it happen. And definitely no doubt that we'll see a continued progression of Korea as a country in this game and also the rest of Pacific. Speaking of Pacific, do you see next year Pacific World Champion?
I'm so excited for next year just because of all the crazy roster changes. Oh, but then the thing is, if I say something, then I don't want to jinx them. Oh, yes, of course. Of
You
course, yeah.
you don't have to like pinpoint like which team you want to win. Just say like just Pacific's gonna win, or yeah, I would like Pacific to win for next year.
Yeah, I would like Pacific to win. Just because I know that I've seen them like during stage two, right? They are so good. But if they're able to carry what they do in Pacific to champs or masters, if they're just able to carry that energy to the next event, then yeah, for sure.
Hmm.
Mm.
Definitely, we'll expect to see that to happen. But it's kind of weird for me to say that as someone that covers VCT America, so I'll just kind of ignore what I just said right now
Okay,
and
okay.
and focus on 2025. We'll definitely see what happens in 2025. But that said, I got one more question to ask for you. Again, on an overall sense, uh, if there's one thing that you feel you can pinpoint, identify, and use that to compare, the Bella of right now, the Bella of present,
Mm.
to the Bella of of the time in which she started her esports career. What would that one thing be and why?
What do I want to say to
Uh,
the new newbie or
More so
the
just
different?
yeah, difference. Yeah, yeah.
I think the main difference in the mindset would be really big because back then I think I was at the point where like worrying was my hobby, like anxiety ruled in my head. Like I would get anxious, like, oh, what if this happens? What if I forget to say this? What if I don't, what if I lose my notebook that I have all this precious information in? But then now I'm just like, um, if you are if you are actually pouring in all the work and hours that you claim, then you will be okay even without the notes. And you learn every day. I working like two events back to back during the last like 4 months. I realized that like every time I step on the stage, I'm taking away something home. Like I learned every day something new. So it became like a little challenge for me and learning what I taking what I learned on day one and trying to integrate that into my day two performance and just doing that continually, trying to improve, making little steps. That's really helped. So I think the difference would be that I'm actually trying to focus on daily goals, something that are actually achievable, less pressure on myself.
And since you kind of
Mm.
brought it up in trying to answer the this question, you mentioned it. If there's one thing you want to say to the Bella of the past, as you right
Mm-hmm.
now, what would that one thing be?
Um, chill, calm down. Like it will work out. Just do what you're doing. Because the worrying, I realize that the worrying doesn't get me anywhere. It only stresses me out. Doesn't help with my performance. And I'm a very transparent person, so like what you see is what you get, especially like my facial expressions. So if I'm worrying, then you can tell on camera. So I'll try to tell my old Bella self, chill, but in a nicer
Definite,
way.
definitely,
Mm.
definitely, yeah, definitely. It'll be one sight to see, and it'll be one that hopefully future viewers will be able to take this and use this as the base for their own growth. Whether it is in the esports or
Chill?
outside of that. No, no, no. Well, like not just that word, just the message that you said, around that word, okay? That's what I'm trying to say, okay? Like it's
Super.
sometimes you take it too literal, okay? Sometimes I like for me, I kind of take it like in a much deeper sense. So that's what I'm trying to convey to the viewers, not just focus on one word specifically and just send that to your home, but just sort of focus on the message that you just gave because you said that word, okay? That's what I'm trying to
Mhm.
say.
All right.
So
Thank you. You got what I meant.
yeah, for sure. You're very welcome, Bella, and I will also thank you one more time for doing this interview one more time. I really do appreciate it, and hopefully we'll see more of you in VCT next year, and hopefully we'll see you again in Champions, Masters, whatever it is that the world brings you or the Valorant scene brings you. We'll definitely be able to catch you in the future. So that said, that's been Bella. I've been Pedro with another interview. Thank you guys for watching.
Bye.